Okie dokie. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the special heroes for a season for picnics. I guess this is like a secondary spring banner in contrast to the bunnies, which are Easter based, I guess. So this is kind of has no precedent from the previous years as the first and foremost. So yeah, this is going to be awesome to look at. If you're new to these series of videos of impressions that I personally make, basically we look at these units from a movement, unit, and whatever skills they bring to the table and talk about them from a metagame, top level Fire Emblem Heroes analysis. Yeah, so they will be considered based on that. And I'm talking like tier 21 arena, which pretty much means scoring, or in tier 21 plus ether raids up to tier 27, which we consistently make. So I'm going to give maybe my small opinions, but generally most of this is unbiased and objective. So let's jump into it. I want to mention that this is like modern outfits. This has no real, like you never really see this in any Fire Emblem game. So this is kind of cool. He's like wearing a tie, isn't he? Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. I like this a lot. Like we didn't have jeans or shorts. We have like jeans or shorts or this sort of stuff in medieval times. So this is cool. At least I don't know. Maybe there was. Don't quote me on that. Anyways, really cool. So red dagger again with Flora, but this time she's armored. We don't have a red armor, but we do have a red caster armor, which is Winter Tharja. And generally speaking, hitting res tends to be better than physical damage. I do acknowledge, though, that daggers have some pretty awesome options when it comes to inheritables, like Cleaner and all the Hoshidan daggers, buckets. They have some nasty smoke daggers, whatever, barb shuriken. They're all very good options for daggers, so I gotta admit that much. But when it comes to armors, man, armors are generally not the best unit type right now in the game. All they're really good for are scoring in arena, and when it comes to AR, it's very difficult to use them, both on offense or defense. Defense requires stuff like Armor March, which takes up a skill slot, and then if the formation is broken or the unit is picked off, then the unit is kind of like a sitting duck and doesn't really threaten a lot of stuff. So yeah, armors, unfortunately, as a movement type is really, really lackluster. However, I recognize range armors are slightly better, especially on AR defense, where you could possibly use them in backlines to go for like a rally trap combined with like guidance or even armor march and then into a dance, and they can have some pretty good range that way. And considering daggers have good fodder options, they may pose a threat on AR defense. I don't see this enough, but at the same time, like since this is a 5-star seasonal locked, somebody like Winter Cecilia is going to be way cheaper to invest in and probably do almost the same thing without looking at skills, of course. So thankfully she just comes ready out of the box, I'd say, to be put on an AR defense team. It's like for once Intelligent Systems realizes that, hey, you guys should probably consider putting this on your AR defense team, and they'd be right. So Armor March, Bold Fighter, you got your first ever beast effective dagger. However, I gotta admit, when it comes to like these beast effective daggers, they are not game breaking at all right now. They are needed as a way to counter the beast meta, or like the really strong no weakness element of beasts. But I gotta say, as long as they stay on armored, uninheritable, seasonal locked units, there's just not really that much to worry about, because realistically speaking, once this banner finishes, not many people are going to have this unit. They're not going to have the ability to really use it without merges. Like, you got to have a lot of orbs to even summon red. It's red, right? You're going to spend thousands of orbs for a plus 10 merge to get really good value out of countering one specific unit type. See, there's a big difference when it comes to countering beasts and countering dragons. Dragon weaknesses are a plethora of options when it comes to like the 3 and 4 star pool. You got like Mass Marth, who's been given away for free many times. You got Roy, Julie and Deirdre aren't exactly available, but they are good counters there as well. So, I'm just listing a few, and there's plenty more than that, where there's a lot of ways to counter dragons, and a lot of people have these. But being like a 5-star seasonal lock is not going to do any favors when it comes to countering beasts. And yeah, they will definitely threaten beasts, but because the availability is not there, like this isn't like a demote or a 3 and 4 star giveaway on Tempest Trials or GHB for free. It's not gonna be something you really should consider when it comes into your team comps. It's not like, oh man, everyone has an armor slaying, we're fine. Now, if there were some beast weapon refines, that could also threaten it. But for the time being, no, it's not really a big deal. And the fact that it's armored is even less of a threat. If this was on like a cav or something where you got the mobility problem, or maybe even flyers like flyer formations and stuff, or even just an inheritable dagger, that would have been enough to say, okay, yeah, this is going to change the game. But since it's seasonal, since it's on an armor unit and it's uninheritable, no, it's just not going to change the dynamic in much. Most people are not going to have this unit, and even if they do, it's not going to be merged up enough or invested in enough to really counter it properly, considering who you got to pair her up with. Duma, other armors that just, you just won't use your beast unit if you see this invested. It's simple as that. You have 4 other teams, right? It's like, that's what it is. So anyways, the weapon itself is pretty decent. It does give you extra attack, and it looks like Flora may end up having high attack just like her infantry version. But, it's not doing so much enough that I think, like, if you think about it, if you run into like a scenario where you're using this against Canagus, like Canagus is on the player side and this is on the air defense side, Canagus ideally should be using Special Fighter in noontime. So, and of course, if you're supporting him properly with like Caden, Ward Beasts, M. Corin, whatever, attack, defense tactics, or just Hone Beasts and Fortify Beasts, or Legendary Azura with +7 all stats, Canagus reaches easily into the 60 or 70 defensive stats. So Flora here needs to be running like 60 attack to do like 20 damage. And if she doesn't have high defense, she's not even going to realistically survive one hit from Canagus. He's going to have so much attack, probably in the 80s or 90s, to just one-shot her back. Because Flora didn't have high defense in her other form, so I'm just going to kind of... She's armored here, so we can probably assume she'll have more defense and more HP than her infantry form. But generally speaking, a well-invested Canagus is just going to be like, lol, you're dead. It's simple as that, and just heal up most of the damage that she does to her anyways. Her extra HP would just end up healing him more in this case. So it's not that impressive. And if you're thinking, like, even if she did survive a hit, Special Fighter on Canagus would deny her from charging a special unless she was running like Moonbow and then was using Quick Impulse Seal, which reduces her effective damage, or she would need like Osteo's Pulse or Grand Scratcher, I guess. Great. Yeah, there's ways to do it, but generally speaking, you're literally investing your whole air defense comp to say lol beasts. Like, that's literally what you got to do to counter something like Canagus. And therefore, like, he's not going to be really threatened by this. He can honestly just take it. Like, he's such a beast, he can literally take it. All right, now we're going to talk about the actual AR defense skills or AR offense skills that happened. So for the time being, first impressions, I'm going to tell you that this is not really that good. It's kind of like a bait, right? It's based on structures that you have remaining, and the unit gets a bunch of stats. And the stats are, you look at it and you're like, whoa, +10, that's amazing. But realistically, you need to keep every single defensive structure alive. So you'll see that, like, if you play into this as a player, you're going to be like, oh, I just need to break, like, 2 structures, and that's significantly weaker. Like, there's like +4, right? You break 2 structures, and unless these structures are extremely well protected in the backline, this skill is already weaker than like Fury, even Fury 3, because it's only giving attack res. So, that's not really that good. There are some ways, or maybe even team comps, that you could make where you're really protecting your structures, and then you'll get some value out of this. It's like Abandoned Castle does a really good job of protecting your structures in the corner. Same with Spring Breeze. And in the mountains, if you run like a frontline line of cavalry units, you can technically put all your buildings in the back there. So there's ways of making this skill work. But for the time being, it's going to be outclassed by stuff like Fury and attack speed solos or even bonds, depending on what sort of team comp you're on AR defense. It's not that useful because your structures will get sniped off and it allows for counterplay unless you deliberately plan to use it that way. And at that point, it's like, why are you spending 200, 300 orbs to get the skill and then design a defensive team comp just around it? And the buildings might not be optimally placed either. You know, it's like too many ifs and buts, and like, why are you even doing that in the first place? So generally, no, don't even bother.
I never have the time to simply read a book under the shade of a tree. I should seize this opportunity.
Can we just play that again?
I have the time to simply read a book under the shade of a tree. I should seize this opportunity.
Okay, sorry. Despite the amazing voice acting provided by Greg Chun here, I'm unfortunately not too impressed with what movement type he's got. It's a nice, mighty fine looking sandwich, mighty fine outfit he's got there. But Blue Lance armor is nothing we haven't seen before and likely already outclassed without even seeing really what he's going to do. There's so many variants of Blue Lance armors in the game that what could he really possibly bring? Maybe he's gonna be like extremely tanky based on his other form, but you know, there's dudes like Winter Ephraim, Effie, Wendy. You know, like they're gonna be different in their own ways, and even got Vector and whatnot, who's got a really good weapon. So all these units by themselves are gonna likely outclass Lukas right away without even me looking stats and skills. I'm already certain of it. If he doesn't have like 50 defense out of the box, then he's already kind of DOA. He's DOA right away. He's just voice acting in your ears and making you happy. But at that point, just go on Google, go to Gamepedia or whatever, go to the quotes and just listen to Lukas's quotes like that. Or you change your ringtone or notification to Lukas's voice acting. And at that point, you know, then you don't have to waste orbs, right? This almost looks like a demote when you look at it, but then you realize it's a seasonal banner. What is this? It's like them trying to tell you, you know, just summon Lukas just for that AR offense skill. It's really good, I promise you. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Anyways, his weapon is Rest in Peace Shiro, because it's literally Shiro's weapon, inheritable. What? What? Shiro and Sigbert need some help, man. Somebody save these guys. They're on like life support now. Poor guys. The lance itself isn't really too amazing, I would say. Like, there's plenty of other things that will output more damage easily. If you want more tankiness, Theo's demoted. If you want more damage, Slaying Lance is likely with the proper special going to do way more than Luncheon Lance would. So it's not really that impressive. Yeah, not really much to say about it. Let's talk about the AR offense skill, which is slightly different from the AR defense skill. This skill, I think, again, is situational, but situational in a good way. Specifically units that may want to Gale Force. This is unfortunately not attack speed. If it was attack speed, I think it would be really good, but since it's attack defense, it's not ideal. You can control the amount of attack and defense your unit has here, which is actually really good for Gale Force strats, because the biggest problem with Gale Force strats is I do too much damage in one shot and don't get Gale Force, or I don't do enough damage, or I don't meet the heavy blade checks. There's always like you're playing like a little bit of tightrope stuff with Gale Force and AR. So this skill is potentially really good as long as the unit doesn't depend on speed, but it's also kind of bad at the same time because extra defense isn't really that useful because, you know, sometimes you attack in a unit, you want to enter Wings of Mercy range to set up your other dancers or other Wings of Mercy units. So yeah, it's not really that ideal. But if there was an attack speed variant, that would be really good. So, yeah. Based on that, you know, if you're going to use this maybe with Legendary Ephraim, he's probably the best unit to use this skill with.
This food is so good. You're here. I'm so happy.
Okay. I gotta admit, they did add some Shadows of Valencia.
Food is so good. You're
Shadows of Valencia alts, so that's pretty cool. Unfortunately for Genny. Yeah, why isn't... Okay, so first of all, why isn't a sheep with her? Why is it a stag? Or a doe. That's a doe, right? I think that's a doe. So it's not a sheep. Immersion's lost. Could be a deer. I don't know what it is. It's something. It's an animal, okay? Anyways, forget it. So sheep here is not with a sheep, but she's a mounted healer. And mounted healers are pretty good, but at this point they become pretty saturated as well. And in the 3 and 4 star pool, you already have some good options, especially with Nana's demote happening. Priscilla, Clarine, Nana, Ethlyn as well, actually. And Clarine, I think. Priscilla, Clarine, Nana, Ethlyn. Yeah, those 4 already. And there's a lot of variance in their stat spreads. The only thing that's kind of missing from a 3 and 4 star cav healer is offensive stats. But Nana does that pretty well. So I don't really think Genny's really going to offer much. She could probably be really, really, really powerful. I guess like really high attack and high res, similar to how her infantry form is. But it's not something we don't already have in like Maribel, right? So I don't really see much for Genny.
here. I'm so happy.
Like Veronica's probably already gonna outperform most of these cav healers as it is. Bruno was interesting because he had high defense, which was really high defense, which was unique to him, and that's kind of different. But anyways, she does bring some interesting things. At least her weapon is extremely good. I gotta admit, a weapon that gives you double drives, like it's like a spur defense res, but it's double drives instead. Like that is really good. Plus it has healing. That means that you can potentially run like drive defense, drive res, and one unit can provide 6 defense and 6 res healers at least. The drawback to this is, of course, that they don't have positional skills, and that could be an issue. But I found, especially from my experience of using Loki and AR, that healers are kind of nice in a lot of scenarios because of healing. Like if you're playing against Duma and you want to overcome Felbreath, like the healing is good there. The healing is also good to secure other kills, maybe if you're hit by like lightning traps or bolt towers and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty nice. And the buffs themselves can be situationally charged if you use bombs. Like attack res, I don't think is the most ideal one, but you know, attack speed or attack defense might be better, and you can definitely use those. I think Loki herself has earth water. So, you know, I think healers are kind of nice as support units, and this weapon definitely helps with that. Wrathful Staff is whatever. Unfortunately, you won't be able to pick up both the Skewer and Wrathful Staff from one inherit, so that kind of sucks. You got to make a decision there. I don't really care too much about defense opening, but I do recognize the opening skills are nice if you just want to dump a healer in the corner as a way to support the rest of your team. So at least when it comes to positioning, it's not a problem when it comes to buffs. It's just unfortunate it only buffs one thing. Nice for mega tanks, I guess, without positional requirements. That's really it. Otherwise, Genny herself isn't going to do anything different.
Everyone says my cooking is to die for. And then they laugh.
I'm going to laugh because you're a green axe armor. All right. This is literally like a meme. So you got your meme unit and your green axe armor. Yeah, you know, there's like nothing Felicia can really do here, man. The green axe armors have been around since 2017 with Hector, and there's units released recently that are still probably not as good as OG Hector. Like look at the relevance of Grail. All right, there is none. Because units like Surtur and Lecter exist, and Brave Ephraim exist, and there's just so many Green Axe armors that are so good in this game that using any newly released Green Axe armors is like, why am I doing this when there's all these other options that are much better investments? The fact that she's seasonal doesn't help her at all. Like, you're not going to have a lot of copies of her. So I guess there's a cuteness factor. I gotta admit, if they do something crazy here where she has like super high res or something like that, like super high res and super high speed, then I guess she's unique because no Green Axe armor really has that. I guess. But what do you do with that? She's going to become like a mega tank green axe armor or something? I don't even... I guess that's different if they do that. But it's still not going to make her worth using. Okay, so I guess what does make her different without looking at the stats, which if they give her high res makes her unique in one way, is the beast effective weapon. But this is even worse than the dagger, because again, it's uninheritable and it's an armor melee unit. So I already told you that armors are difficult to use because they lack range and mobility, and now you're going to try to set up a melee unit to do that? No, it's not happening. It's not happening. There is no way that you can set up rally traps with a melee armor that aren't like telegraphed like 4 turns in advance, and then if your rally trap completely fails in AR, then it's a sitting duck, free ether, free win. Like, not to mention, most people probably use like green armor counters by now because of the prominence of Surtur and Lecter. Like, you're gonna probably run into a versus with axe breakers or, you know, some variant of countering. So like, this is a disaster for Felicia, unfortunately, for being a green axe armor, because she's just gonna have all the same problems that all the other units had when it comes to this. Yeah, I don't even expect her to have as much attack as Flora. It'd be a surprise, but if she did, then, you know, it's just not... When the day we get an inheritable beast slaying weapon, then I'll start to say that yes, beasts are in trouble. But for the time being, these are unrealistic situations that these units can actually do that to counter them properly. I guess from a player perspective, if something like cavalry, like ward, beast balls, man. If flyer balls are currently a thing, and you can technically run beast balls with like ward beasts, then I guess there's some merit to units like this, I think. But other than that, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Not meta defining at all.
I'll straighten this up.
Oh man, look at him. He's a green cav mage. Yay! There's like no way he's better than Thunderhead Olwen when it comes to offensive capabilities, and I really doubt, since most people already have the free Cecilia, who you probably have 20 copies of in your barracks, is going to be outperformed by Leo. I gotta admit, I do have to admit that Cecilia is currently the highest defense green cav mage in the game, and Leo may take that position by being free here. But are we really going to spend 2,700 grails to make that comparable with this free unit? That would be the only thing that would make him different at this point. It's probably not happening. Yeah. His weapon is probably like Lukas's, by the way. The defense res, no, attack and defense, I think, or maybe it'll be different. It might be like attack res on enemy initiation. It could be different. I really doubt it's anything like Genny's or Beast Slaying. That would be really good and definitely would change the game if it was, but it's not. It's likely not happening. Also, Fjorm is dead. Hey, Air. Okay, so the banner lasts a whole month. It's got one of every color. In the next video, which will either be tomorrow or the day after, probably the day after, I am going to cover the unit analysis comparisons as I usually do. This one is definitely a major skip. The banner lasts a whole month, so you got plenty of time to make a decision if you really did want these units in any way. Don't justify pulling for the AR skills. Don't justify pulling for beast slaying. You don't need it. AR skills are not that useful. They're very situational. And if you're looking for a special fighter, this is not the banner to pull for it. Even though she's green and technically costs less orbs, just wait for Brave Ephraim to show up on a 3 or 2 person banner. So nothing here is really useful. It's just nothing. Like if you're playing to climb some ranks, this is not going to do you any favors. You'd pretty much be wasting your orbs at that point. So yeah, and plus the 1 month duration of this banner does mean that it will overlap with the legendary banner coming up in about 10 days. I'll cover my banner predictions for that again in a few days as well. And it probably will give you a preview of the next seasonal banner to come. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't summon. I guess that's the TLDR of it. I will cover the math tomorrow or the day after when I go through the unit comparison analysis. Thank you so much for watching. As always, give the video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. And leave your comments below to let me know what you guys think of these units. I like them. I mean, when it comes to how I feel about the units, they're cool. They're different. They're unique. They're not Fates. Oh, wait, they are Fates units. There's 3 Fates units here, but that's okay. I like these Fates units. When I played Conquest, I married Felicia, so I do have some affinity with these characters. Plus, I like Flora a lot too. So I mean, I like these units from my own personal opinion. But yeah, there's not really much here for you if you're playing the game competitively, at least. So, anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Have a good one. Peace.